What is happening, guys? Cowboy here, and it's finally time to bring you what you have all been asking for. That is right. It is the Nioh 2 Alpha. So initially, I didn't actually get a code to the Nioh 2 Alpha, but one of the wonderful people out there that watch my content decided to give me their code, and hence here I am playing. So at this point, I've already played a lot. This is not blind by any means. It's not going to be quite as comprehensive as a walkthrough because I haven't written down where everything's at, but I'm going to be going through at the same pace I would on a walkthrough. If you want to see my initial impressions of the game where it was completely blind, that of course is all on Twitch. I played it for almost 10 hours straight. So anyway, for the alpha we have a couple presets here. That's it. We don't have full character customization available. Gotta build your own waifu simulator, so I'm sure we're going to see lots of waifus. I'll go with generic white guy. Feel at home in the generic white guy body. Skip the tutorial stage and jump on in. So the very first thing getting in, you'll notice, is it looks exactly like Nioh. This is what I started dubbing it as on stream was it's more of a Nioh 1.5 than a Nioh 2. You know, it looks like they finished Nioh and just jumped straight into making the second game without changes. It's not necessarily a bad thing, as I like Nioh, and the idea of more Nioh is something that I'm okay with. But my initial takeaways from the alpha is that there's some nice changes. I enjoy it. I'll definitely play the shit out of it at launch, but I feel like they could have done a lot more. At least based on what we've seen so far, this felt, I guess, overly safe. It felt like they didn't really want to mix up too much. They didn't want to, you know, risk making people upset. And they went the safe route, which I found a little bit weird because, you know, in the dev interviews there was all this talk about, you know, we're taking the kid gloves off and Nioh 2 is going to blow you away, and you know, I'm not blown away. I guess that's the thing. I'm certainly not blown away. Feels just like Nioh, which I like Nioh, but we'll be going through all the new stuff that's been added in as well. One of the new things is coming up right here, and this is one of the new weapons that's getting introduced. The dual hatchets. So my guess is we're not going to see dual blades come back. For the purpose of the alpha test, we had dual hatchets, katana, spear, and odachi available. I'm sure there'll be more than 4 weapons at launch because it'd be a little bit weird that the base Nioh has 7 weapons and Nioh 2 only has 4. But for the alpha, at least, this is what we had available, which I figured we would have seen. Yeah, I figured we would have seen more new weapons, not 3 returning weapons. And I guess that kind of goes into what I was saying, where it feels more like a Nioh 1.5. There's a lot of assets that were basically reused. You know, 3 of the 4 weapons available are what we had in Nioh 1. The movesets of those weapons are hugely identical. There's like 1 or 2 new moves per weapon. Plays exactly like Nioh 1, which I do like, because the gameplay of Nioh is something that I thought was very good. They've also changed up how leveling works a little bit. It's a bit different than it was before. You now gain points from using a weapon. So if you want to gain points with the dual hatchets, you have to use them, very similar to how proficiency worked in Nioh 1. In a similar sense, if you want to gain points with katana or spear or what have you, you need to focus on using that weapon to gain skill points with it. Should we pop the shortcut open and then we'll go back and we'll level up. You've probably also noticed a bar. There's a new bar that's right under our stamina. That's called Youkai Force. It's a new mechanic they've been added in, and one of the things that I think is actually really cool. We won't get into Youkai Force initially, but right after we fight our first yokai, I'll have a chance to explain that and how it functions. So leveling up is largely similar to before. A couple new things. We now have a courage stat, just to go through all the stats very quickly here. Let's see, body affects life and resistance to poison and spears. It's the spear weapon. Art is still sword and bow, effects key, and now resistance to fire. Courage is key recovery speed and resistance to lightning. Stamina affects equipment weight, life, and hand cannon. Strength is for the Odachi. Skill is for the hatchets and rifle. Dex is for ninjutsu. Magic is for Omyo. Pretty, pretty straightforward stuff. But anyway, as you spend points in a primary stat, you will gain access to samurai skill points. Now what happens is your samurai skill points are now all of your passives. So we have things like Flux and Flash Attack, Key Pulse Earth, Running Water Earth. All of that is now just standard across the board. You know, you get it once and it works for every weapon. Stuff like Bowmaster is here, Fortitude for the health bonus is here, Composure and your barehanded stuff is now here as well. And then as for getting points in these trees, it's simply using that particular item. So for example, I don't have any yet, but if I was to use a Omyo style talisman, I would get Omyo points. If I was to use a bomb, for example, I'll start getting points for ninjutsu. You can see there, we got some hatchet proficiency. Hatchet has some pretty dirty things. First thing I'm gonna get is Wolf's Rage. This allows us to just dunk on anything with hatchets. It's kind of broken, to be honest. The bow. Basically, anytime something blocks, we just hit triangle and do a double overhead hatchet swing, and whatever blocked ends up getting annihilated. Lower that slightly. Camera. See, the AI is, once again, pretty exploitable. One of the new cool things with the hatchets is the heavy, or not the heavy, but the strong attacks for the hatchets are range throws. So in your high stance, you do a hatchet throw that can pierce. In your mid stance, you do a hatchet throw that's like AoE. And in your low stance, you can throw multiple hatchets and basically spam it as long as you have key to. So, one of the reasons I'm a big fan of hatchets is it just gives you a ability to do some ranged attacks, even if you're out of arrows or ammunition for the bow. Or rifle, I should say. But as you can see, I mean, from what we're seeing so far, it's, you know, it's very, very similar to Nioh. Crappy white gear. As you would expect, stuff like dual hatchets and heavy armor is still grossly OP. Go to earn gear. Stamina 7, we're going to be raising that up shortly. The locks we find are now unique to that tree. So for example, this will only give us a sword point. If we want hatchets, we gotta find locks for hatchets. If we want spear, we gotta find locks for spear. And here is another one of the new things, Blue Remnants. Now, Blue Remnants are summonable with Ochoko. You still get Ochoko through just killing Red Revenants. And these are essentially, it's like co-op on demand. Very similar to how you can summon a Red Revenant at any time to, you know, just fight it. You're now able to summon Blue Revenants and get somebody to help you fight through content. So, neat concept. You know, you can still do regular co-op, exactly how you could in Nioh, but, you know, now we're able to just summon up a buddy to help us if we're struggling. They're not exactly the brightest, but they know they're good enough to get the job done. At the very least, I find they serve as excellent meat shields. So up ahead we got our first yokai encounter, so I'll talk about Yokai Shift. Yokai Shift is the new mechanic that's replaced Living Weapon. For the sake of the alpha test, we had 3 different potential Yokai Shifts. We had Brute, Feral, and Phantom. With the current one we have on, we're going to be doing a Brute Yokai Shift. We're basically going to be swinging around a giant hammer, and there's a couple different things you can do. You can, well, it starts off as a club, and it can grow into a giant hammer. You know what, it's better to just show you it. Let's just do it. And then you can still execute your Guardian Spirit ability while you're in Yokai Shift. In this case, it does like a fire explosion. And here we go, Soul Cores. Soul Cores are another one of the new things with the game that are actually really cool in my opinion. What happens is as you kill Yokai, there's a chance they'll drop their Soul Core, and then you can equip this Soul Core after reaching a shrine and purifying it, and then you're able to use the Soul Core to basically invoke the ability of that Yokai. So the one we just picked up in particular will do a big hammer flip that will damage enemies and light them on fire. And you know, they're just another drop that's been added into the game. But some of them are just outright damage. Some of them are good at applying elemental status. Others are excellent at giving utility. For example, the Kappa one. If you get a Soul Core from a Kappa, you're able to use it to summon a shell onto your back that will negate out any attacks that try to hit you from behind. So there's definitely some really cool stuff that's been added in. In particular, I think that is one of the better things that we've seen added into the game. Corruption weapons, these are something that's new, just to show how that works. I'll play with it for a little bit here. But corruption weapons are essentially just a new element. There is corruption and purification. These are our little purple boys. They're essentially like, you know, it seems like it wants something. They're essentially like little undead Kodamas, and what you have to do is give them something, and then they'll give you something back. So let's give him a... Let's see what to give him. He doesn't like holy stuff. Spirit stones, they like spirit stones. Let's give small spirit stone. If you give them something they don't like holy water or something, they can zap you. The first time I encountered one of these things, it shit out a bunch of lightning and murdered me instantly. So that was not fun. You can see how I have a meter that's building up. If you look at the weapon, you can see how there's this little gauge that's building up over in kind of the middle of the screen on the right-hand side. And when that weapon reaches max, the weapon ends up basically becoming like alive. If you look, there's like a to what you can see, there's a sentience meter, and that sentience meter will help impact how much damage you can build up with it and how fast. Hey, we got the Kappa Soul Core, nice. So Soul Cores work the same way that like your Emrita works in Nioh, as in if you die, you'll drop them all with your spirit, and if you don't make it back, they will be gone forever. after you get your soul cores, you have to make your way on over to a shrine to purify them. And once you've made it to the shrine, as you can see, soul cores will be purified by praying at a shrine and can now be attuned. So, first, I'm a blessing, just equipment drop rate. I'm gonna level up, get stamina up a little bit here, because I'm gonna be going for heavy armor. As for our 3 guardian spirits, similar to before, we kind of have the strength one, we have the quick one, Ame no Motori, and then Kagawani, which is more of a defensive one. You can see stats up at the top. Those are modifiers in terms of your defensive values and your offensive values, and these modifiers will be affected by what you put on. So for example, the Ippon Soul Core has an attack of 8. That's 8, and then let me see here, for our second one, that's 1, so it's not enough, but so let me see, well, since I'm only at 1.10, it's not enough to really show it, but this has like 26 defense. This one has 17 defense. So since we're only getting 0.9 of that, we end up at 39 defense instead of getting the full benefit, which would be 30. Would be like 43, I think. We're only getting 90% of that. But actually, we'll mix it up since we showed you Mikami already. Let's show you Ame no Motori, and then I will put my guys back on. There, put you there. So you can see how since this has a 1.05 increase, we're getting 45 defense out of it. And we now have access to our Yokai Skills. So Yokai Skills are executed by filling up the Youkai Force meter. That is the meter that's in the, it's right under stamina, as I mentioned. And that just fills up from us fighting, dodging, blocking. It actually depends on your Guardian Spirit. Each Guardian Spirit has a different way to fill on up the meters. Some of them are easier than others.
Yep.
And right now we're in what's known as the Dark Realm. This is another one of the new additions to the game. The Dark Realm is essentially just like this Yokai Realm. Your ki regenerates a lot slower, but you can use your Yokai Shift in the Dark Realm. You gain the ability to do some seriously mean damage. These are one of the new enemies, the Gakis. They are extremely annoying. When a Gaki gets injured, a Gaki can eat a Gaki to get buffed, and they're pretty fucking annoying, man. They can do a lot of damage. They also spit out paralyzation. Pop this, so I have Yokai form up for the next encounter. Oh, he sure looks feisty. We're gonna go after his ass in a second. There's a couple other things I want to grab first. To dispel the Dark Realm, you need to kill the yokai who is spreading that impurity. In this case, it's that big guy over there. One more. Show you guys the feral spirit. Go. So the feral spirit is the quick boy spirit. As you see, we're able to dash all around. I'm a big fan of Feral. Feral does some mean damage, as you saw there. Very fast, very high on the dodges. It's able to just get in there and shred some shit if you do it right. Since the impurity is gone, we're now able to go back and open these chests, which were previously blocked. Let's use a couple things. Got some ninja locks. Have another charm? Still do not. That's fine. We're gonna put on some stuff. Damas, water talismans will need later. that's fine. Let's pick up some skills. And hatchets, I'm gonna get Lethal Barrage and Lethal Barrage 2. Death from Above, Spiked Wall, which is a disgusting mid-stance hatchet-based parry. Heaven. In Ninjutsu, we have a Ninjutsu and Omyo actually got a couple more things to make them more interesting, but from my experience so far, they're still very much utility, you could say. And we got Poison here, Eagle Eye Scrolls, Gallon of Broth, Antitoxin, Makabishi, Shuriken, Rakusen Coin. You're just able to throw coins now. It actually costs money. Kudama, Smoke Balls, Tiger Running. So a lot of, you know, as you're seeing here, a lot of things that are very similar, very familiar. Toxic Ground Fire, Poison Control, Makabishi Balls, the Kunai, Storm Kunai, Shuriken-based stuff, or if you're doing a Shuriken build, Fire Shuriken, Rokodama, Mega Rokodama, Flaming Heron. When used, it inflicts fire damage and major key damage on the enemy. If it's already out of key, we get a lot of fire damage. Quick change scrolls and dodging, of course. We're going to work towards quick change scrolls because obviously those are stupid effective to use. Actually, with having the yokai, what's interesting about the Shadow Realms is after you clear the Shadow Realms, the Dark Realm, whatever you want to call it, they won't actually come back. So even praying, it's not going to respawn those enemies because we've purged the realm, if you will. Go ahead and this is another thing that's new. Your capacity is now, you can equip based on your capacity. So it's not like you need to go, you know, Smoke Bomb 1, Smoke Bomb 2, Smoke Bomb 3. You just already have access to that, and you can put on as many as your capacity allows. So definitely a nice thing that they've changed up here. I thought that was a really nice addition to the game. Let's go on level up here. Let's get our skill up even more. And change a couple things up here. Yeah, put on the big boy gear. About that big boy gear. Toughness issue. Running speed, sure. That requirement. Alright, there we go. Bit of a beefier boy than before. Let's see, did we get new axes yet? We do. Brigand hatchets, wonderful. Let's see if we picked up anything else. Nope, still just this for corruption. Which corruption's not really, you don't like absolutely have to have it. But it can be useful. Alright, so looking at the time, there's still quite a bit left to this area. We basically go all through this, fight some stuff, a whole area over there. So this is definitely a two-parter, but we are going to wrap up here for that smoke bomb and just dipped out. But anyway, stay tuned. We will knock out the remainder of this area later today, and then I don't know, it really just depends how fast I can go, but rest assured I will be covering all of the content in the alpha so that you guys can get a feel for whether or not Nioh 2 is going to be something that scratches that Nioh itch for you. So stay tuned, and I'll catch you guys soon with more.